Warm welcome to everybody. We have a side event here now, an exciting topic, 100% renewables and local solutions in Africa, South Asia, and local climate resilience and poverty reduction. I welcome you in the name of INFORSE, Judith Soletsky and Gunnar-Boye Olesen, and in the name of INFORSE and INFORSE South Asia and INFORSE East Africa. The organizers are also SusWatch Kenya, Nobert Nyandire, Rob Wheeler from Global Eco Village Network, and Mahesh Shrestha from CRT Nepal and also INFORSE South Asia. And I also would like to welcome in the name of Raymond Miles, who is a coordinator of INFORSE South Asia. And I'm sorry, and also in the name of the Nordic Folkecenter for Renewable Energy, and Daniele Pagani is online. And do we have more who is online? Yeah, we have also Sanjiv Nathan and Raymond Miles from INSEDA, India, who is INFORSE South Asia coordinator.
Yes, I would also like to welcome, I'm Gunnar Olesen, also from the INFORSE network, and we'd like to thank the Secretariat here for allowing us to have this side event and also making it possible to have people from many parts of the world who could not be here today, so they will be online participation. We're happy that this is possible with the technology of today, and also welcome to both to you here in the room and to the online participants. I think we go straight to the first presentation, which is about the climate resilience in eco-villages from the Global Eco-Village Network. So, Rob, over to you. And then I have got a role to change the slides.
That is, no, this one.
This one, yes. So, at some point, you can start to speak. I'll make a big screen in a second.
Oh, now you can also see the online participants, Anzoo and Daniele and Sanjiv.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Rob Wheeler. I'm the main representative of the Global Eco Village Network to the United Nations. Represented the organization for 20-some years. I serve on the board. The Global Eco Village Network has long been focusing on regenerative development and how our communities can take action to become much more sustainable in living practices and how we are on planet Earth. We live together cooperatively in communities around the planet. There are several thousand communities that are a part of our network, along with permaculture institutes and locally based organizations. The Global Eco Village Network is in 112 countries, all of the continents. We have national networks along with our continental coordinating councils and boards. Over the past several years, it's become more apparent that the frequency of climate disasters, the severity of these disasters is increasing. We're all aware of this. The question thus becomes, as governments fail to take sufficient action to solve our climate challenges, what are we going to do in our local communities? It's been a serious issue for us living on the ground in our eco-village communities, something that we wanted to figure out how we can take more effective action. One thing that's fortunate is that we've discovered that the things you need to do to address mitigation are quite similar to the things you need to do to address adaptation, and are the same types of things you need to do to adopt and to move into climate resiliency. In any case, we applied for funding. We got funding for a 1.5-year program to focus specifically on community-based approaches to creating climate resiliency at a local level and at a global level at the same time. So we have 20 eco-village communities around the world that have participated for the last 1.5 years in a learning process, looking at what the challenges are that we're already facing and that are more so likely to face and that humanity is likely to face, then looking at what are the challenges to address those and what can we do as communities and how can we take more effective action moving forward. All of our communities have been developing vision statements and action plans. We just got word that we received a phase 2 of the projects. We'll continue on over the next 2 years. So we'll enter into the, we're now entering into the implementation phase for the things that we can do in each of our communities to take more effective action. When I say that mitigation, adaptation, resilience, a similar type of activities, we know that some of the changes that have to be made, the transition humanity, as well as our local communities, have to go through, include transitioning to 100% renewable energy systems, moving off of fossil fuels as soon as we can, transitioning to regenerative agriculture, growing our own food, practicing self-sufficiency to the extent that we're able, maintaining our water security, and ensuring that we have good, safe, clean water supply, transitioning to a circular economy, reducing our consumption levels, addressing the issue of shortages that are increasing across spheres of influence across all the different natural resource base. We also, in our eco-village communities, eat principally a plant-based diet. That is something that humanity will more so have to address and deal with. So here is the slide for the start of our program. What can eco-villages nurture today to be more resilient tomorrow? So this we have then had to address and look at in each of our communities. The Gen Resiliency Project, we hear stories of eco-villages already dealing with desertification, fires, typhoons, war, flooding, loss of livelihood, and on and on. So it's not only eco-village communities, we're seeing this as something that we are having to face all over the world. I live on the farm in Tennessee. There's 230 of us that live there. We have a school, the farm school. I teach at the farm school. For the last year, I've been teaching a program called Caring for the Earth. So we've taught the students about the challenges that we're up against. We've taught them about how to transition to regenerative agriculture. What are the changes we can and need to make in terms of renewable energy systems and processes. We read a book about a girl that was 11 years old that lived in the Sudan, who had to walk 6 hours every day to gather water in order to drink and in order to bathe in for her family. They had to move twice a year because 6 hours wasn't working anymore. So they had to go to where there had been a lake, and the lake is dried out, and there's a pit going down like 10 or 15 feet, and she had to climb down into the pit and get water out that way. So they've been facing increasing drought in South Sudan, about a third of the country underwater. This year, when we started into the program again, I came across a new article in the paper that said, well, it's not only a drought problem, now it's a flooding problem. 1/3 is in drought, 2/3 of the country is flooded. This is a country that depends upon subsistence agriculture. We also read about Pakistan last year. Pakistan, 1/3 underwater from the flooding, of the melt of the glacier waters coming down and flooding the rivers. The reason the rivers are flooding in South Sudan is there's a clay hard surface over the land base. As you get desertification, as things dry out, the water just no longer filters down into the soils. Instead, it just runs right off. And then there's a hard pan, and the hard pan does not let the water seep in. So the same thing, the whole country is relatively flat in the lowlands, and the water just sits there for months and months and months at a time. I think it took 6 months or longer for the water to drain off in Pakistan. Again, subsistence agriculture area. What are those people to do? We know one of the major issues here at the COP28 is loss and damages. I introduced loss and damages to my students, middle school and high school, and we talked about the challenges we're facing today because the developed countries that are the ones that have caused these climate disasters and emergencies are the same ones that are now refusing to put up the money and to make the commitment in order to ensure there's money for the developing countries that are facing the worst impacts from these climate disasters. It was first forecast that it would cost $10 billion to rebuild in Pakistan, to get people back on their feet again. It's now $30 to $40 billion 1 year later projected to what the ultimate cost will be. So loss and damage in order to start the project was, I think, between $500 million and $700 million to start the program. But the question is, what are the governments going to do now to ensure that this level of financing is available? It's going to cost trillions of dollars for the developing countries to be able to meet these needs. Well, in my community, we don't face anything like that. I thought we were pretty safe at the farm, but as we went into this project and looked at the challenges and did an assessment in our community, we found out that we are facing our own problems that are becoming increasingly severe and concerning to us. This is Anna Kovasna. She's the coordinator of our project. This slide is basically about all of us working together, both locally and globally in the coming decades, to create plans and pathways in order to address these challenges. This is a slide from TED Talk with Johan Rockström, Stockholm University. He's one of the foremost authors that writes about planetary boundaries and tipping points. There's an increasing movement of scientists that are becoming increasingly concerned as we cross over multiple planetary boundaries and are rapidly approaching tipping points. Initially, they had identified 9 tipping points. We learned during our climate resiliency course that there's now 15. A few of them that we are most concerned about is the coral bleaching. The coral bleaching is causing the die-off of coral systems, which provides the breeding ground for multiple different classes of fish. As we lose those, we're facing a situation where those that depend on fisheries for food are going to have extreme challenges and have to deal with that. This is a slide from case studies. Each of our 20 eco-village communities is a case study. We will be expanding it in the second phase. If anyone's interested in the program and developing plans for your own community, you could look on the Gen site for information about that. ecovillage.org/resiliency. So we're working together in order to make cooperative change. Our course went through 4 strands: a resilience assessment, where we again assessed the challenges we're up against and what we can do, a deep dive looking at the changes we need to make, visions and pathways for the future, and capacity building and resources that we will need in order to take effective action going on into the future. We met every 3 weeks with a training program, all of the 20 communities together, sharing best practices, what was working, what was not working, what we could do better, how we make decisions in our community, what infrastructure we have available, what infrastructure needs to be improved, how can we address the threats that are coming. In my community, we live 80 miles from a tornado valley, so we have to have places where people could go if it hits us. We have 20 minutes warning, that's all. We have straight line winds that come across from California all across the United States to middle Tennessee, 2,000 miles. They pick up cold weather, ice storms along the way. When they hit our community, we're losing 100-foot tall trees that are coming down on some of the buildings where we live. So that's another issue that we're going to have to address. We have a month-long drought at the end of summer. So multiple challenges, but at least now our community's engaged. They know what the challenges are. We know what are some of the steps that we have to change to move towards regenerative agriculture, fire prevention, disaster preparedness. That's where we are today. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and the thing is that Piedad Vitare is a little delayed, so I hope that we can continue from South Asia with Mahesh.
Yep, thank you, Gunnar. Can you change the slides, please?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Mahesh Wester. I'm representing an NGO called Center for Rural Technology in Nepal. And we have been working in this area for more than 34 years. And I think my colleague Anzoo, Sharma is also online, I think. So, at this moment, I'm going to talk about the participatory planning of eco-village development concept in Asia, focusing the women's. So this is about our organization. It is NGO, as I said, it is 34 years of legacy, and we work in the rural technology and improving the livelihood of rural peoples. And these four are the thematic areas where we work and to contribute for the SDGs and sustainable energy for all. And now, when we move to the eco-village development concept, it is the bottom to top approach. So we do not design the project first, but we go to the field and find out their needs before designing the project. And our theme is to empower the local communities in through climate smart practices, right? And the process, the approach which we took to continue our projects is the active participation for the decision making and especially for the women. So these are the procedures which were taken for the participatory approaches. One is the transit work or community work. Second is social and resource mapping. Third is the seasonal calendar, timeline, and these are the steps. So when we move to the first step, it's the community work. So we walk through the villages to find out the condition of the village. For this process, we took to know the landscape of the village, to know the resources, about the vegetation, all the social and the financial part of the villages. So we also did the consultation programs also in the field to find out the appropriate site for the project. These are some pictures. So in the social and resource mapping, actually for the social mapping, it was focused on to find out about the gender, about the density, household, population, all the things, and the important monuments or the temples in the village also. And for the resource mapping, we find out what are the available resources in the villages and also the current use of villages so that we can design for the next step. And regarding the seasonal calendar, we were focusing on the smart agriculture, so the type of vegetation they were working with respect to time. This was the important factor for us. So under the seasonal calendar, we had this one. And under the timeline, we took all the, let's say, events occurs in that villages that might be from the climate change or any accident like erosion, landslide, earthquake, all the events we had the record for this one. So we can call this as a community history or the people history of that community. You can see there is a there is the border of the white line. So that was our project area, which is very near to the river called Marine Khola. It is in the low level of the country, so it was affected by the landslide and the flood area. And under this institutional diagram, it is also called the stakeholder mapping. So we were focusing on to find out the relevant and the important stakeholders in that community, so that we can understand about the let's say, if they have some current projects or the past projects, we can find out them. And the second, another step is well-being ranking. Under this, in this topic, we were finding the financial situation of the people, right? So that we can focus to the ones who are very poor or below the poverty line. And the last is that then we make the list of the, let's say, the activities which was caused by the climate change. So in this stage, we will prepare the village development planning, especially focusing on the women participation. Our theme was to motivate and focus the women participation for this project. So these are the steps taken for the mitigation mitigation of the climate change. There was waste management, tree plantation, and the clean cooking projects. And under the clean cooking, there was electric cooking, improved cook stove, and biogas. And under the tree plantation, we planted the plants along the road and also provided the high value fruit plants. And under the smart, climate smart vegetation, under the adaptation, we capacitated the community under the access to market and access to finance. And we also provided them the polytunnel houses, mulching plastics, drip irrigations, and we also conducted the soil test before going ahead. So access to irrigation, high quality seeds, and the biofertilizer and pesticides were also, the trainings were given to them. So these are the solutions which we adopted in our projects. So there is a biogas, solar leaf for the drinking water. There is the maintenance of wells, sand cement ponds. There's a solar dryers, induction, improved cook stoves, dustbin for the waste management, fruit plantation, cow shed management, biofertilizers, and we also provided the goats for a few households also. And at the end, these are the achievements from our projects. Actually, the project was conducted in a cluster of 100 households. So for further information, you can log into our websites. And if you want to get the more data on the South Asia, there is also information in this INFORSE.com. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And both for you and from Anzoo, who will be online and also be ready for questions. I think we forgot to say that we don't plan to speak the whole time from the podium. There should be 20-30 minutes for questions and answers and dialogue also. We hope we can discuss how we put this into the climate negotiations here. But I'd like to give straight away the word again to Sanjiv Nathan, who is speaking from New Delhi to us, and he will be speaking about local solutions, again from Nepal, but also Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and ways of promoting our local solutions and available solutions for climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. So please, Sanjiv, let's hear if it works. And I'll put the presentation on, and just ask when you need to have a new slide.
I think I will. Can I make a presentation?
Yes.
Can I share?
No, I have shared the presentation. Can you see it?
Yeah, I have seen, but it's better if I share.
No, it's better
because I do have option to share it.
I don't know if that.
Is it visible now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, great. So hope it is not echoing now.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so I am Sanjiv Nathan. I'm sharing on local solutions in Nepal, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Bay of Ocean local solutions. It's available for climate change adaptation. I am Sanjiv Nathan, and I welcome on behalf of Dr. Raymond Biles from INSEDA. A little bit about INSEDA first. INSEDA is an NGO we registered in 1995 and working in India and South Asia. And INSEDA has observer status at UNFCCC since 2015. Raymond Miles, President and Chief Executive, INSEDA is a founder member of INFORSE-SA. And we are hosting Regional Secretary of INFORSE South Asia since 1995. Dr. Miles is innovator of low-carbon, bamboo-based, affordable green technologies developed by INSEDA, and also designed 3 types of biogas plants in Bandhu, Bamboo, and hybrid bifaces. So we also innovated this eco-village development concept, and which is effective for mitigation and adaptation. And this concept was taken up in 3 countries apart from India, that is Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. And that was with technical support and INFORSE and managed by DIB from Denmark. So we have this eco concept as mentioned, this eco-friendly, low-carbon, green technologies within the village. We can easily implement it and replicate it. They can help in mitigation of climate impact or adapt a new solution and build climate resilience. That focus is on poor, marginalized, especially women and weaker section of the society. So here a glimpse of the solutions which are put in India. The bamboo reinforced biogas plant, this is called Gramin Bamboo, and state water harvesting system, the poly greenhouse, and tunnel and dryer, bamboo shed house as a basically shelter here, and bamboo compost basket, vermicompost, organic kitchen garden, solar street lights and lantern, and improved cook stoves. There's a Hira in Swala, and of course energy plantation. There are some of the solutions which were promoted under a project in Nepal. There's a hydraulic ram pump, improved water pills and solar pumps, and improved cook stoves and solar dryers, roof water harvesting, vermicompost, biogas, and drip irrigation, tree plantation, cook stoves, and renewable water lifting systems. Similar technologies are also in Bangladesh, like biogas, solar home systems. As you can see, solar street lights and solar retail heat cooker. And then Idea Sri Lanka, we have special Anagi improved stoves and second type institutional stoves and proof water harvest systems, and the similar technologies as mentioned before. Now, coming to see these solutions help in reducing emission. Say, for example, in India itself, we can reduce consumption of 100 million tons of firewood, that is equivalent to 150 million tons of carbon dioxide through improved cook stove itself. And for biogas, we can save 300 million tons of carbon, and roof water, rainwater harvesting system, we can save a huge amount of water. Similarly, we have solar home systems and industrial cook stove. They can save huge amount of carbon dioxide. And bamboo will be one of the material which helps in drawdown of CO2 and environmental restoration and several other social impacts. To see how it's mitigation and adaptation, biogas itself helps in firewood reduction, as well as families are not dependent on any energy supply from outside. Like LPG, they have bring from outside, but biogas, it is within the village. They have the animals and they have cow dung, and they can get biogas throughout the year, even if in the case of calamities. Similarly, if they have cook stove plus tree plantation in their farmyard, they can have firewood all around the year, and then improve cook stove, save some amount of wood also. So likewise, you can see there's emission reductions and adaptation to these eco-village solutions. And we have the database of the solutions, which is available online. I will share the link in the next slide. So all the solution, cooking solution, off-grid power solution, heating, water supply, organic gardening, and village planning, these solutions are available in a database which is accessible to anybody who wants to implement technologies. All this information are available on INFORSE.org, Southeast Asia, EVT, and Eco-Village Development Next. And the database is also available, and there are some publications, as you can see. And if there is any query, you can always act. Thank you for patient hearing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sanjiv. And I think we should also say that for practical thing, that this presentation and the other presentation will be online both on the INFORSE website and also on the UNFCCC website under side events before the end of today. It's not available yet, but take a look if you want it. And I'd like to follow up what Sanjiv said about we have worked on for a number of years. We've published previously what's actually the mitigation adaptation effects of doing these eco-villages. Just today we are happy, it's a big day for us, we are able to publish a new climate mitigation effects of the 4 eco-villages that we have been working on with this project that Sanjiv just presented. So if you look up by the end of the day, you can also find this new publication, what's actually the effect of doing it on the practical level in 4 test villages throughout South Asia. With these words, I think I'd like to give the word back to the Global Eco-Village Network, to Piedad Viteri, who came a little late, but I hope the presentation, everything is right now, so you can speak about regenerative education. So please, the word is yours, and I hope they got the presentation up.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about my voice. I try to do my best. Please, can you play the video? I will be speaking while the video is going on.
Desarrollo sostenible. Y por ese motivo, firmamos un convenio de cooperación con ODS certificado.
Okay. Okay, good morning. We come from Ecuador. We are Johannes Kepler School. This is a school that has transformed education into sustainability. How we did that? It really started 33 years ago with the vision, with the heart of being a green school. But like 8 years ago, when the 2030 agenda came and the SDGs were launched, our CEO, who's sitting there, was inspired to bring them into education. So first we wanted to everybody know what is the SDG, and we articulated which every content in every level of the school. So a little kid can know, if he's studying the cycle of water, that this is SDG 6, and that this has caused that bad management of water has caused a lot of problems like this, and this. But after that, we said we have to be coherent. We don't just have to know what is the content or what is the framework or the concept or just the information about sustainability. We have to practice it, okay? So we turned the camp into a sustainable habitat using the eco-village design, which I think that Robert and others here explained. And these technologies that came and that also are ancestral, like the gardening, we redesign it in an integral way in which all the campus turn out to be like the adequate environment for sustainable education. Then what you study at any level in theme, you can practice how it is done. If you, we structure in the eco-village design in the 4 dimensions of sustainability: ecological, social, economical, and cultural. In the ecological, as you see, there are 6 edges, which is energy, zero waste, green building, water management, ecosystem restoration, and food, seeds, and soil. When you go and visit our school, which I invite you all over to come to Ecuador, you can go through a tour and you see all these examples of the technologies, nature-based solution or eco-technologies. You have signage, you have deeper information, and they are all study rooms. They are all outdoor classes. So what do? You turn the nursery into an outdoor class, the biodigester into an outdoor class, the aeolic energy or the solar panels into an outdoor class. Okay, so if the teacher is getting into the SDG energies and I mean number 9, infrastructure, and they can go and see the panels and see how it works. Further, with the food, seed, and soil, it has to be a circular, and then it comes into the economical dimension, because we produce the food that then we eat in our own restaurant, that then we come back into the biodigester or the vermicompost, with also the animals' excrement, which is a gift for us, because they will all come together into humus that comes again into the garden. So all the earth cycle is closed. It's all about closing the cycles. Now we're closing the water cycle. And the building, the green building, we show within eco-efficient building and bioconstruction, okay? And we show there what's the difference, and we also promote the bioconstruction as local solution for the outdoor classes in schools. We didn't want to stay there, so we created a network of schools with over 3,000 schools united for SDG. What do? We invite them to come over to see the model, to workshops, and as they are a lot, we also do webinars, we spread the information, and we spread the model. We work with more like 40 or 50 institutions, governmental, enterprises, social and civil society organizations, to come together in an ecosystem restoration program. And then we have planted already 2,200,000 trees. And we are heading to the 9 million, which is the country, what the country needs. Yeah. So this is an example of civil society through gathering together public, private, NGOs to act local, okay? We say, okay, they come to us schools that our school is a private school. People pay to be there. But there are local schools that are public and they had a really bad quality education. We invite them over and they say, okay, but we don't have money for a biodigester, but you do have hands for a vermicompost. and you do have hands for a garden. So it is about the will of transformation. And in the social, we articulated all these networks. We conceive schools are educative communities. It's the students, it's the parents, the teachers, the authorities, the collaborators. They all become one so they can spread in their own neighborhoods. Parents also become the change makers that will spread in their neighborhoods. Schools will also, in our network, will spread in their landscapes. So we really believe that without education, there is no transformation. So schools are a very powerful node of transformation of local solutions and to gather people together, because the mothers, fathers come to the school, yeah? And we just wish that there is something in this that had inspired you, and that you may come to your territories and find how to do something and contact us, because we're really like open software and open heart to share it to everyone. And last thing, I just want to invite you. We're going to be in the Ecuador Pavilion tomorrow at 11:30. We're also going to share there a little more. So thank you for inviting us, and that's it. Yeah.
East Africa, and after Folkecenter.
Okay, thank you. My name is Nobert, Nyandire. I'm the national coordinator for an organization called Sustainable Environmental Development Watch, or SusWatch Kenya, and currently also a graduate scholar at the University of Cambridge in the UK. So I'm going to share with you local solutions and 100% renewables in Kenya from a project that we were carrying out in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Just a little about SusWatch Kenya. It's a member organization that was formed way back in 2002 as part of the Global Sustainability Network, and that you can see all over the world because there are different other networks that belong to Sustainability Network. And from there, then we used to operate as a loose network until 2011 when the organization was officially registered. And we are currently composed of different civil society organizations that come together in different thematic areas that contribute also to sustainable development agenda. And we've been operating in East Africa and also nationally, but beyond that, then we've been also very keen on the global policy making spaces where we participate in some of these negotiations. So to date, in this project that we did, we developed 100% renewable energy scenario by 2050. And out of this document, the government of Kenya currently picked up some of this, the recommendations, and they are way ahead. Instead of even making it at 2050, then this has reduced because the nation is currently working on transitioning to 100% renewable energy by 2030. So as we all know, energy is the lifeblood of all societies, But as we know again, its production from burning of fossil fuels produce carbon dioxide that actually are detrimental to our environment, as we all know from the IPCC report. Energy sector accounts for more than 70% of the total GHG gas emissions, which actually drive climate change. It's one of the drivers of climate change worldwide. And to this end, provision of clean and sustainable energy is crucial for us to achieve the Kenya's Vision 2030. And besides that, then it's one of the infrastructure enablers of socio-economic pillar of the vision, because Kenya as a country currently, we are seeking to be a middle industrializing country by 2030. What that means is that we'll really require a lot of energy to drive this process. And to meet this growing energy, it needs its citizens, the government itself, to actively pursue new technologies to expand and upgrade the networks, as well as promote the transition to this renewable-based energy system. And this is something we've really been pushing as well to see how the global stocktake process can also incorporate or onboard some of these local solutions, because at the end of the day, we don't need to always, all the time, just looking at these sophisticated infrastructure or technologies. We also need to look at how the local communities and the local households can benefit from such, and by doing that, then we promote the uptake of these local solutions. And from this project that we carried out, we identified some of the milestones where, in terms of clean cooking mechanisms, Kenya is very ambitious in achieving 100% access to modern cooking services by 2028. That is actually streamlined in their policy documents, and this include efficient cookstoves for wood and charcoal, household biogas, LPG stoves, and others. And to that end, on renewables, the renewable energy currently accounts for 70% of the installed power capacity, including large hydropower in the country. It accounts for more than 70% of the power generation, and its production varies from year to year. And as we all know, or maybe to those who are not aware from our situation, in 2019, then Kenya was one of the countries that was really applauded by different researchers, being a country that has really invested in renewables, and it had really done a lot of investments on that. And to this end, I can stand strongly saying that Kenya's energy production is more than 90%, because we get our energy from geothermal, hydropower, and a bit of it from wind. Of course, we are not harvesting so much solar, even though we have a very big potential, because currently the nation utilizes just around 10 or 20% of its solar, yet we are really strategically placed at the equator. So we are very ambitious. We have an ambitious target of achieving 100% renewable energy by 2030. And this is a message that we are really trying to pass across different countries in the global south to see how this can be taken further or can be emulated. So that is just a sample of that 100% renewable energy scenario which we developed for 2050. But the government has taken this up, and we're optimistic that by 2030 then this ambition will be achieved. So some of the recommendations is there is need to invest in modern energy solutions with energy efficiency, and cleaner renewable energy should be prioritized in Kenya and also East Africa and other countries. There is need to diversify the energy mix into different renewables to reduce over-reliance on finite resources. More budget allocations need to actually be put together to fully finance the exploration of clean and renewable energy sources. And there is also that need to manage the cost of energy through optimal combination of energy efficiency and affordable renewable energy should be a priority. On this, then, since we are working across board, then Uganda also developed its 100% renewable energy scenario, where they're also targeting to transition by 2050. And this is a policy direction that they're also trying to really do a lot of advocacy so that the country achieves this in a very short term. So maybe in the near future, just like what happened in Kenya, this can really be taken up soon. And there is need to make biomass use for energy sustainable with combination of efficient biomass use, charcoal production, increased supply with plantations. There is also need to make transport energy sustainable with the use of electric transport based on renewable electricity, and also raising public awareness of more efficient energy use, including energy efficiency measures. There is need to involve the local communities and county governments, because at the end of the day, just like what I mentioned, we really need not to look at very many these big sophisticated technologies. We really need to see how this can be taken down to the local communities so that we make full use of the communities that we have and also benefit them. And while doing this, then there is need for us to also mainstream gender in the implementation of energy projects and programs, which is crucial because energy, as we all know, then it affects both men and women differently. And there is need for us to have this on board. And last but not least, then increase fiscal investment in greening the economy to reduce the impact of climate change and environmental degradation. So thank you. If you want more information, we can be reached out on those different websites, and the project that we just completed is also up there. And from there, then we also developed an online catalog which you can also log in and see some of those best local practices that we are advocating for. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much to Norbert, and we have a copy of that report for how to get Kenya to 100% renewable energy here for those of you interested. As the next speaker, we'd like to invite Daniele Pagani, who's online with us from Nordic Folkecenter for Renewable Energy, and he's going to speak about the importance of train-the-trainer program on sustainable solutions. So, Daniele, the word is yours, and I'll try to see if I can get your presentation up in a minute.
Yeah, thanks, Gunnar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly. Just go on.
Yeah, thanks. So, greetings to everyone, and thanks to the Secretariat and to the technical team to make this possible. So, as I cannot see the slides, if you can share with me as well.
I don't know. I can only share them on the screen here in this room, but you have the slides, so you just, there's a number on them, you just ask me to go to the next number.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect. So you can just, now I see them perfectly. So yeah, if you can just move to the next one, please. So just a bit about, a bit about Folkecenter. We are an NGO based in Denmark. And if you click on the slides 2 times, then you see a picture of our facilities. So that's the location, and then yes, just so that we put a picture in perspective on where we are. And next, please. Otherwise, our organization is an NGO, which is 40 years old now. And throughout these years, our goal was always to be a bridge between education and industry. This done through different activities, but also through a lot of dissemination, because as you can see, we have quite a big flow of people coming and visiting us. And that's for us, it's a very big chance to promote also sustainable practices, to promote best practices to an audience which might be from professors to school children to general public. Next, please. So in the early days, we started developing technologies actually with wind, biogas, and what we would call today Power-to-X. Then, of course, industry got more and more developed in these topics. So next, please. So our focus also changed, and what remained is that we are a bridge. We are supporting green SMEs, working with renewable energy solutions. We are testing renewable technologies and be very active in dissemination. And that's also the point of this presentation, because education, as you can see here as last point, is actually one of our key parts in the activities. Next, please. So if we look at the point of this presentation, actually, we need to go back to a project that we started some time ago. So as you can see from the table here, okay, data might be a little outdated now, but it gives a perspective on how is the situation in the African continent in terms of electrification rate. And if you click once more, then you will see that we need to get to basically the second part of the second page of the list to reach 50% electrification rate. So that, of course, brings some issues because we think that lack of energy is lack of development. Therefore, next please. And one more. Yes, so we started a project which aim was to bring solar illumination to schools in 10,000 villages. And schools are not selected randomly. It is on purpose that there are schools because, first of all, the importance of education, but second also because school is something that the community sees as their own. So of course, when you have an installation being donated, like in this case, then people will make sure that everything is being taken care of because that's something that the community owns, basically. So the concept is very simple. During the day, when children are at school and they don't need much illumination, then the panels are collecting, the PV panels are collecting electricity and putting it in batteries, so that at evenings, when there is no light, then parents can also go and get an education and improve their conditions. And the picture on the right, you can see a little bit of the setup of how the classroom is. So before this system, well, the situation was what you can see in the following slide. Yeah, okay. So also an important part is that we actually not only install the system, but we actually train local electricians to maintain it, so that they make sure that the installation is perceived as their own, and also that they get to know it and to maintain it properly. Next. And all this was based on donations. So we have companies coming in and contributing with schools. We have private people that, like in this couple here, that donated the wedding money for the cause. And despite, or I would say, considering that it's donations, the fact that we managed to reach 300 schools, more than 300 schools, it's really a big result. Of course, our goal is 10,000, so we are still on the long way, but somewhere you need to start, of course. And next, 2 times, please. And more. Yes, so this is how the system is designed. That includes all the materials and also the installations. And of course, it can be a little expensive, especially when it's money to be collected. So we started to look at ways on improving this illumination and improving the system and making it more energy and cost efficient. Next, please. As I was saying before the system was in place, this was the way that illumination was done. And if you give a couple of clicks, then we can go quickly through the slide. You can see that the illumination radius, which now the number doesn't say much to you, but it's really very little light and very short distance, which means we need to go very close to the flame with consequent risk of burning and, of course, of inhalating smoke. And ahead, please. We go to the next slide. On the other hand, still ahead to the next filter. One more. And this is the proposed solution, which you can see when we are at twice the distance, we get 10 times more light intensity. Next. So we built up a school setup with different solutions, which we tested to make the illumination not only as cheap as possible, but also as efficient, so that we don't have too many redundancy, that we have the amount of light we need, but not more. Next. And that also meant that with this kind of installation, we could considerably reduce all the requirements, meaning that we could pass from larger batteries to small power banks. With this single power bank can power the classroom for 4 hours. Next, we decreased the consumption of the lights by basically to 1/10 of the original, which also means next that we also need a smaller PV panel. Next. Yeah, so we can go very small in the solution. That means all in all we can put down the cost to something we think it could be in the area of 1/5 of the original price, making it more accessible to everyone. Next. We have worked also on additional solutions from small wind turbines that could power the system to solar power banks hand-built so that you could actually pick the components. And next. And so we could say that the problem is solved from the technical point of view, but then it remains the part of spreading it. So next, please. What we would like to see with the train the trainer, what we are trying to do is to get some people that are interested, that are willing to spread these technologies to Denmark. Next, just make so that there are all the parts in the slide, please. So if we just take it as an example, we have one person being trained in Denmark, which when it comes back can organize 5 workshops to which 20 people can participate. And if every person makes 100 lamps in a year, which means pretty much 8 per person, it's not very much, then we can end up having about 10,000 lamps being built in a single year. Next, and next. So when we start playing with the numbers, and of course this is only theory, the practice I know is different, but the impact that we can have is really huge, because if we can get 20 trainers and have them organize 2 workshops per year with 40 people each, that means that in 3 years we could be potentially able to cover all villages in Uganda, if we take an example from Uganda. That means not that everyone would be trained in that, but that potentially 1 person per village could have training that could afterwards provide to the local community as well. Next. And we started on this part. We have already had 2 people from Uganda being trained on these solutions. Now when you get the slides afterwards, you can also see the videos with the interview and all the setup. And this is the school that they have built now in the Nebi district. And that's not only building the setup, next please, but it's also already training the first trainer. So here we have some abstracts of compensation in which we have also, okay, we have these problems, but we managed to solve it in this way. And that's the whole setup that we want to provide. It's not a ready-made solution. It's a solution that this is how you should do it. But if you cannot do it because materials are too expensive, because you cannot find what is needed, then this is the way to find a solution to that. And we can see that it's working quite great. Next, please. So in the table before, it was talking about electrification. Electrification is not only light, which now we have seen can be solved. It's also normal electricity for all appliances. And so far, we are relying on PV panels and inverters, but inverters have limitations, especially in areas where it's very warm and where there is no grid. So instead, next please. Instead, we have developed a device which we call the sun generator, which practically substitutes the inverter and makes it as a standalone system that can work anywhere in the world. That means we can power any device powered by electricity, and this allows us also to cook on solar. And even when you see the slides afterwards, you will see that we have had a video made 2 weeks ago where we could cook beans in Denmark, so not really a sunny country. So that means we can end up with a setup like this, with electricity being provided in rural areas. And we have developed some training courses that we would like to run to make this impact larger. And then, of course, next, and I'm almost done. Next, please. So, of course, we realize that might be a challenge for some people to join these courses. So there is always the option to join our trainee program, which is very affordable in terms of money. but it also requires more time. So it means that the person has to displace for a longer period of time and will be trained in the same things. But of course, it's more spread around a longer period. Next. And that was pretty much it from my side. For any question, then don't hesitate to reach me out. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you very much. And please, Daniele, you're staying on for the next, because now we have the last presentation. And I'm sorry for a little reordering of the presentations. And that was supposed to be Mary Swai from TaTEDO in Tanzania, but unfortunately she could not make it. So I'd like to give the word to Judith, who will then present on her behalf.
I can't. Judith. So thank you very much. So Mary Swai from TaTEDO couldn't make it. They are also TaTEDO Sustainable Energy Service Organization is also coordinator for INFORSE East Africa. So I will present it on behalf of the International Network for Sustainable Energy, INFORSE, and INFORSE East Africa. Just very shortly, what is INFORSE? INFORSE is a network of 150 organizations from all over the world, and it was established in Rio de Janeiro at the Earth Summit, at the UN's Conference on Environment and Development. And there were NGOs there in Rio in 1992, and they decided to establish a network to work on sustainable energy, because it was very much missing in that time. From that time, we have concentrated also on 100% renewables, and these NGOs had a vision that 100% renewable energy with energy efficiency is a possible path. We are working for fossil-free, nuclear-free future, protect environment, reduce poverty, women empowerment, and also sustainable lifestyle. We have a sustainable energy news, a newsletter, which we've published since really many, many years. We are 30 years old. We were last year 30 years old because it was established in 1992. We have a big contact database, publications, and we are also following UNFCCC and also EU issues. We are active regionally in Africa, South Asia, and Europe. This is a picture from the last COP. You can see this was our exhibition, and you can here see people from South Asia and also East Africa and Europe. So the main point is my presentation is that we have documented more than 80 practical climate local solutions that solve energy, water, food security, and challenges faced by local communities. It is local. This is the website that you can see, localsolutions.inforse.org, and this is established by these organizations underneath. Besides that, this catalog, which is online, we also made a summary in a brochure, which is available in Swahili, Luganda, Runyakitara, and Luo. It looks like this, that you can choose cooking fuels, light, electricity, water, growing food, oils, transport, and solar heat, and others. And then you can have different cases, and then you can find that why to choose the solution, benefits, costs, why is it successful, barriers, limitations, and more information. It is a very useful database. We really worked quite hard on this to get it together from these three countries, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Just a couple of examples here. You can see that there are institutional cook stoves, there is solar light, there is agriculture, organic gardening, there is, you can see here, the cooking with two pots with one fire. You can see a solar cell with pumping water and irrigation. You can see bicycles, E-mobility is also part of this catalog. Solar dryers, biogas, and fireless cookers, and solar cookers. There's a couple of more pictures of these, and there's also this insulated e-pressure cooker, which is also new in Tanzania. And yes. And here are a couple of words why local solution is important. I'm not going into details, but I think you have heard, and you know, all of you, that there are about 800 million people are without access to electricity. There are 2.5 billion people do not have access to clean cooking, and so on. So the local sustainable and affordable energy solutions can play a key role in supporting the transition. So it is also important because they are important to reach the climate targets, crucial in reducing poverty. Local solutions can provide opportunities for small businesses and improving their livelihood. Thank you very much, and this is the website, and you are welcome to check it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking over this important last presentation. Now we come to the dialogue, and some of you might have some questions to the presentation, so you bring them up. But we hope also to have a dialogue on the integration of local solutions and these eco-village development strategies into climate plans and NDCs. The point is that local solutions are important climate solutions. You probably heard about it here, both for mitigation and adaptation, and at the same time they're important for development, including, for instance, full access to energy, as the world has promised with the SDG 7. And one example is that we just heard this presentation of 100% renewable energy from Kenya. And if you look into that report, you see that it's not enough to cover present demands, because, for instance, in 2050, we expect there will be need for 60% more cooking in Kenya, more food, because of population development and economic development. And but at the same time, most of the cooking in Kenya is from biomass, which is overexploited today. So with all these local solutions, including from proof cook stoves and all the things you just heard, we expect that we can actually, at the same time, reduce demand for cooking, make some of the cooking electric, and come down to the level where we only have used 40% of the biomass today as used today, so we actually come to a sustainable level. There's a similar example with transport, where we expect Kenya would have needs like 3 times as much transport in 2050 than today because of economic development. But if we go to these sustainable solutions and soft mobility and electric transport, we don't need more energy than today, and we can make it from renewable energy. But so we think really that this must be reflected in the future climate plans and in the NDCs, of course, which are the top-level climate plans, and now also in the GST. But in the latest GST conclusions, there was discussed over the last few days, it is mentioned, but it's not agreed, that achieving universal energy access is important, and it depends on financial support from development countries. And that's important to include, as we know we cannot expect that developed countries will solve the climate problems. I mean, there's support needed. But maybe we should also have local sustainable energy solutions more in the forefront of the GST. Yeah. So now we'd like to open the floor for questions from your side. And I think we cannot get from the, we can only get it from the, from you and not from the online participants. And please say your name.
Is it audible?
Yes.
Thank you for this amazing, important presentation. Koile Manahing here from Climate Action Network International Secretariat. I'm a colleague of Nobert and other members of Climate Action Network. I see you here. My question is, takes in the context of what you said regarding just in terms of the global target and the importance of bridging that gap, particularly for the least developed world. So my questions really talk about the idea of indigenous knowledge in most of these most of these solutions. How important was the role of indigenous knowledge in actually catalyzing or determining the success of how well the projects worked out across, clean cooking, across the idea of energy access, solar power, because most of our communities in Africa, most of them are in the rural areas where we need actually, the importance of energy access happens in the rural areas. So indigenous knowledge is something that's very important there. So I'd like to know just how far it was in different contexts, across the world. I think that's something quite important. And the other thing was the database work, the archiving of that database work, the information there. Is it accessible as lesson sharing also for other countries as well? Because other countries would like to learn, for instance, in Southern Africa, how things work in East Africa and so forth. So those two questions, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could start and then Norbert could continue, because with the starting point was this about the database. It's online and accessible. We try to make it so it's relatively easy to access, and it also can be used with a mobile phone, at least with a smartphone. So we hope that it's used, and we can see from our web statistics that it is actually used. We can't see who's using it, but we can see there are thousands of using it on a monthly basis, so that's several, like hundreds per day. So it is out there, and we hope, of course, that more people will use it, and that it gives the information you need, not only about the solution, but also what it costs and how long you can expect it lasts, and what are also the downsides of it, if there are problems, what you can expect of potential problems. So we hope really have a useful. For your other questions about the indigenous knowledge, we have all these local solutions, and they are a combination of modern technologies like solar PV cells and indigenous knowledge about tree planting, and also but they're very different. There's so many different solutions, and some of them, like there was showed earlier from Sanjiv, Nathan, a stove from Sri Lanka, which was made by a combination of traditional pottery knowledge and a modern engineering design, how to put it together so it would have a good combustion inside. But the way they're actually doing it, and why it has been successful, is that there were potters who had the skills to actually do it beforehand, and then they could add on to that and make this both cheap and very efficient cook stove. So I think this hope. And Norbert, you can maybe add some.
Yeah, maybe I can just add, in most cases when you define indigenous knowledge, I think we refer to these solutions and also ideas that have been developed by local people over a given period of time. And in this case, then when we were developing this catalog, then we had to go to the communities just to get their perspectives and what is working for them. So that catalog actually entails a lot of information from the local communities, the households, what actually some of these best practices that they've tried and tested, and it's working for them. And that actually brings us to what this indigenous knowledge is, because when you bring on board the different solutions from the communities, then it means that you've already incorporated some of the aspects which they believe in. So if you go on site and online, then you'll get all those local solutions which actually depict the ideas of these local communities. So that is taken care of in the catalog. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess this is live. In the Global Eco-Village Network, there's a great interest in biochar. Biochar initially comes from indigenous peoples. I don't know how far back the history goes, but I know in the Amazon region, along all the rivers, there were, before the explorers came, 30 million people that lived there, self-sufficient, growing their own food along the rivers, very rich. And it was all supported by what they called terra preta. So whatever waste material, woody waste material, was burned in pits and then brought back into the soil in order to concentrate the organic mass in the root zone of the plants and sequester the carbon there and enrich the soil. So that's a movement that's become quite popular today with people using Western technologies, or, I mean, on the farm, we produce it in a pit. with our farm school kids coming down and producing biochar from bamboo that we grow there, that then goes in with our compost pile, with our rabbit and chicken waste, and then goes into the garden area in our kids' garden project. So it makes a full circle. This goes back to the indigenous peoples living in the Amazon that did the same thing, that we've now learned to take advantage of and move towards regenerative agriculture using these techniques.
Thank you. There more questions? Yes, you have a question, and you have a question also, and there's 3 questions, but if we take you first.
Yes, good day. My name is Thabo Sibego from AdLife Africa in Johannesburg, South Africa. I think I want to agree with most of the speakers here that locally based solutions are actually a way to go, because a lot of local communities are left behind, particularly in the region where I come from in South Africa. A lot of people with all this energy crisis that we have, but we still have a lot of communities lagging behind in terms of sustainable solutions. But I think also what I wanted to find out from the speakers is that with regards to the solar access to local communities, how do we ensure that the cost of the technology, particularly the roof top solar, how do we ensure that the cost of the technology is actually can be brought down so that local communities, particularly those that are unemployed, marginalized, are able to access the technology? Because a lot of people, particularly also in areas where extractive projects or areas where coal-fired power stations and mines in South Africa exist or take place, a lot of communities in those regions don't have access to the technology simply because it's too expensive for them to actually purchase the technology. So I think maybe I would like to find out what can be done to actually bring the cost of the technology down so that even the poor of the poorest member of the community will be able to access the technology. The second part is, I've got 2 questions. Yeah. The second question is with regards to the solar security itself. We've tried, we're currently implementing pilot projects in South Africa where we've installed solar PVs in schools, and now we're actually exploring a model of installing the technology in local communities, working with climate activists. But the solar theft is actually one aspect that is actually occupying the space. The technology has been stolen, and what can be done to actually ensure that the security of the solar PV is actually also brought into the discussion, because that is actually a big elephant in the room. Thank you.
I think we have not so much time left, so I propose we take all the 3 questions now, and then we will respond from the panel. And comments are also welcome.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for all your presentations. It was so insightful. My name is Maya, I'm a site waste management consultant working a lot in developing countries. So everything you said about compost and regenerative agriculture speaks a lot to me. But actually my question was more related, it was more of a clarification that I seek for the economic activities related to the eco-village design, because I understand that if you want to give local communities some independence after we have gone, they need to create their own economic values through the sale of dairy products, for example, or textiles. But I just wanted to ask again whether or not the eco-village design actually includes that, or the creation of economic value products, or is it more the application of technical solutions and just improving livelihoods in general? I hope that's a clear question.
Yeah, thank you. And the last question. And I hope there's nobody else who's sitting with some burning questions. But if you are, we are not disappearing when we are finishing. I mean, we can still take things outside. But please, go Go on.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Wellington Madumira, and I'm with Climate Action Network Zimbabwe. I think the other component of my question was asked, but maybe to add on, it's like I'm really happy about the energy situation in Kenya, I think which is a little bit different from our situation in Zimbabwe. But I would like to know much about like who is spearheading the investment in the renewable energy sector. Is it the private sector or is it the government? Because I remember you were talking about more budget allocation. Is it like from the national fiscus? Because from our side as a network, we are also trying to push our Parliament Portfolio Committee on energy, even on finance, to make sure that they also support the energy sector. But from their perspective, they are saying that's the role of the private sector to invest more into renewable energy. So I'd like to know more about who is investing in your energy sector. Then my other question, I think, goes to the local solution that has been discussed, to say what is the perspective of communities, especially how are they taking up these local solutions? Because I remember there are some cultural beliefs that are there around these local solutions. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll take a number of responses. I think the first, let's go to Nepal first about this eco-village value. I think you have some responses there, and you can also talk about the cultural issues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Actually, when we talk about the high investment at the initial phase, right? So we in Nepal, we have a collaboration with the local government also. So they subsidize for the investment. So if you can, let's say, grab that opportunity, then I think that might be the better solution for the upfront cost. And regarding the behavior change and something like that, then actually when we talk about the sustainability of our project, let's say, right, we have the developer of the users committee in our cluster, so they are looking after that project after that project design period also. And we also have developed the social enterprises model in the villages. So they grab all the products manufactured in that cluster and have access to market. So they are making the project sustainable. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Then I'll talk a little bit about this with the poor people's access. We just have 3 minutes left, so be quick. What we found is that you can do certain things, and most of the INFORSE members have done certain things by giving microcredits, by giving other ways of pay as companies are offering this pay as you use, so you don't pay the mobile solar system up front. And there's also the technical issue that you can have nowadays with very efficient LEDs, you don't need such a big system, so it's also cheaper. There is a certain range, so you come at a certain level where simply this microcredit doesn't work because people simply cannot afford it, and then you need subsidies, and there's no way out of that. And about the theft, one thing that's been done by some members has been to have very small solar lanterns which people could pack down and keep, so they don't have that problem. They can still have some of the lamps you saw on the presentation of the Folkecenter actually doable with solar lanterns, so you can keep it. Some people have put these solar panels on very high poles, so different to steel, but I don't know, some solutions work somewhere. And then I think I'll leave the word to Norbert, if you have some additional on this issue, but also this who invest in energy, public or private.
Yeah, thank you so much. Regarding Tambo's question, what we've said in Kenya and what has been working in these local communities is that the private sector has come on board, and we have different companies that are offering solar housing systems to the communities that they're local, where they are not getting grid power. And to that effect, then in most cases, we did a project where the startup cost was, of course, very expensive. So what we did is that we partnered with that private sector where, because the setup, most of the times they require around $30 USD to begin. And out of that, then what we did is maybe catering for half of that money, and then so that the communities could uptake that. And at the end of the project, we managed to connect more than 5,000 households. That is just a small project that you're doing. But beyond that, then the investors in Kenya in energy, we have a public-private partnership that is really working in Kenya. And remember, we have a very big potential because currently Kenya is ranked the 8th largest global producer of geothermal, where we actually are producing more than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. And this still has a very big potential. So there's a lot of interest to come and invest in Kenya. And out of this, then we've gotten different partners who are coming on board to invest in energy in Kenya. I would have talked more about it, but I'm seeing we are really pressed of time, and thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was the last. Now the online is ending, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why not leave the last second to speak instead of just saying we have something. There's a new group coming in here. They want to continue.
And this is how the